guys and gals? Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, and some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Lyre. So y'all, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go! It can't be Bjorn. That's right. Something's happening. Someone is coming towards him. Hopefully it'll be for help. Whoever it is, their footsteps are swift and quick. They actually seem to pick up in pace, too. Maybe they'll stop this. My legs are shaking a bit as I stand there, pushed against the gritty wall of the cell. The two turnkeys stand off to the side of us, their paws clasped in their heads, drooping. The repetitive noise of feet on dirty ground comes to a stop in the doorway. Oh! Lyle! He slides through the entrance, his tail stiff and shoulders high. He's wearing a helmet shaped to the head of a wolf, with a large plume coming out of the top. I recall seeing it sitting on an armor rack in his room. Even in my dreams, it would rest there, collecting dust. Out. The two turnkeys walk to the door, one of them handing the ring of keys to Lyle. But I was just... Leave. Now. I've slid down the wall and fallen into a seated position, legs shaking slightly. Seeing him and hearing his voice is the biggest relief I've had in weeks. The castle guard walks to the doorway and stops next to Lyle. You're not even allowed down here, if I remember correctly. I can't read the expression on his face through the helmet, but Lyle only turns his head slightly, looking down at the links. As the person who made the arrest, it's my duty to bring them to trial. If you have a problem with it, bring it up with your commander. I'm sure he'd love for you to waste his time with such questions. The guard clenches his fists and scoffs. You'll be needing these, then. The guard drops a pair of shackles into Lyle's paw. Lyle leans in, his voice brought down to a quiet tone. Oh, and if I ever catch you pushing around prisoners again, I'll make sure your commander has you shoveling shit in the stables for weeks. Understood. After that, the guard walks off in a huff. Lyle turns his head away from the door and looks down at me. As I hear the guard's footsteps trail off into the distance, I find it hard to get any words out of my mouth. For a few moments, we both just stay in place, motionless. The only thing moving is Lyle's tail, as it twitches from side to side. I apologize for the smell. What's with the helmet? Suddenly, he launches himself toward me, throwing the shackles to the side and falling to his knees. He takes me in his arms, wrapping them around me tightly. His body gives off a comforting warmth, and there's even a faint smell of coconut. He just sits there, and I let him hug me, my body in shock. After a few seconds, I hug him back, his fur rubbing against my face. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can feel him shaking slightly, and I can even hear him sniffle. What are you apologizing for? You better not be apologizing on behalf of that moody king. The shaking continues, but he quickly starts to laugh. I've missed you, Leuven. It's only been a couple of weeks, but it feels like ages. I could do every day was wonder how you were getting by. You were constantly on my mind. He pulls back, planting his paws on my shoulders and looking down at me through his helmet. I can sort of see his eyes behind the visor, big and concerned. I look down, several emotions overwhelming me all at once. Embarrassment, happiness, and sadness. I can tell that I'm blushing without even looking in the mirror. My face feels hot and the rest of my body is chilly. The water from that bucket bath drips from the tips of my hair onto the ground. I look back up at Lyle, and he's letting out nervous chuckles. I like your hair. You look kind of cool with it down like that. Even through his helmet, I can tell he's forcing a smile. Before I know it, tears begin running down my cheeks. It feels good, though. He takes me in his arms again, and we both silently sit there, hugging. I sob into his chest for what seems like a few minutes. The thing that messes with me the most is the fact that I'm just now realizing how much I missed him. I'd seen him in my dreams and in some visions, but through it all, most of the time he felt like he was just there. Any emotions I would get were just drowned out in other feelings and thoughts. Holding him in my arms helps quell my doubts. Having him by my side is just pure bliss. After a couple more minutes, I pull away and look up at him. I've missed you so much, Lyle. He lowers his head. I really did never stop thinking about you. Not for a moment. He leans back in his seated position, his tail swishing across the floor like a broom. I raise up my hands and grasp the sides of his helmet. Are they making you wear this for the special occasion? No. All the royal guards have to wear these, actually. Only on certain occasions, though. He wrings his paws nervously, and I brush my hand through the fur on his neck. 1 second, y'all. Water time. Okay. I want to see your handsome face. I begin to lift the helmet, and he quickly brings his paws up to my hands to stop them. His paws stay there for a moment, and he lets out a sigh. I lower my hands and he removes his helmet. Oh, shit. What I see next makes my stomach twist into knots. He has a black eye. It's swollen to the point where he can barely open it. Oh my god! I take his face in my palm and caress it. I'm afraid my dedication to both the sword and the arts has left me middling in both. I gently rub my hand across his face, making sure not to cause him any pain. I start to get angry, knowing that this is all probably because of me. It's nonsense! Everyone says you're a gifted swordsman. What actually happened? You'll learn about it all during the trial. Did you get into a fight with someone? Did someone attack you? He lowers his head in shame. All you need to know is that it was Bjorn, and that he's in worse shape than I am. Bjorn attacked you? And you won? He doesn't lift his head, still looking down at his lap. Not really. I lost the duel. That doesn't make much sense. I'm confused. Why would Bjorn be in worse shape? He was out for blood and I didn't want either of us to die, so... He pauses, the words catching in his throat. I don't really want to talk about it if that's okay. The fight itself wasn't too important. I'm about to protest when an all-too-familiar noise echoes from outside the window. The bells start to toll, the noise bouncing off the walls outside and filling the cell with a reverberating noise. I look back up at Lyle, and he's staring out the window, too. He seems nervous, almost frozen in place, and I don't blame him. It's finally begun. I'll tell you about it all later, after we prove your innocence. He stands up from his seated position and holds out his paw. It'll be better if you arrive as soon as possible. I take his paw and he pulls me to my feet. You're right. I look down at my body, filthy and dripping with water. The seat of my pants is covered with mud. Picking up the sponge and bucket, I turn to Lyle, who's examining his helmet. If it's alright, I just need a few minutes to, you know. Oh, yeah. I'll be out in the hall if you need me. Okay. Alright. Oh, okay. After a few minutes, I managed to get myself relatively clean. The sponge actually does a good job at getting most of the dirt and everything else off of my body. It's not a perfect bath, but it actually feels really good, aside from the shivers running up and down my skin. Also, once all the water is used up, I turned the bucket over and stood on top of it so I could wash my feet. However, I should have placed it closer to the bed with the clothes. Lyle! Yeah? He peers in the doorway, his eyes darting up to mine after glancing down at my exposed genitals. Can you hand me those clothes on the bed? I don't want to get my feet dirty walking over there. Without saying anything, he quickly walks over to the stone slab and hands me the cloth for the underwear. While he does this, it looks like he's avoiding looking at my body. I take the underwear and start tying it around my waist. You know, you don't have to avert your gaze. Am I really that grubby looking? No, it's not that you're grubby. I'm just trying to be polite. I love looking at your body. He stops halfway through his statement, and we both stand there in silence for a moment. I know you do. I fasten the underwear around my bits, and he turns away in his flustered state. He eventually does look back at me, and I even see him softly smile. I get the undergarments fastened around my waist neatly, but when I look up at him, he keeps his eyes trained on my torso. After a second, his gaze rises back up to mine. Pants. I point to the simple pair of pants sitting on the bed. Sorry. He grabs a pair of trousers and hands them to me. I slip into them pretty fast, and then he hands me the shirt. Second, y'all. Water time. Okay. I put that on pretty quickly, too. The sleeves are short and it feels a bit tight. Lyle tosses me a pair of socks and I slip them onto my feet, leaning against him for support. I step off the bucket into the old pair of shoes. They don't fit me too well. A bit too big, actually. I can walk in them, though, and even so, I don't think I'll be doing too much walking anyways. What about your jacket? I look behind him at the jacket he's nodding towards. It's the one I wore that night, damp and hanging from the bars of the cell door. Will the throne room be cold? Not really. I should be fine, then. I walk past him, patting him on the back in a sarcastic manner. Stopping in the doorway, I turn around to look at him. He's standing in the center of the cell, helmet in one hand and shackles in the other. I look down at them and realize that for a moment I had forgotten about everything. Only for a moment. He locks eyes with me and then looks around the cell once more. Lyle! He stares at the bed, the cold slab of stone with one corner draped in a ratty blanket and the other corner draped with my wet clothes from earlier. After a few seconds, he walks up to me and holds out the shackles. I hate to do this, but... It's okay, just do it. He pauses for a moment, before nervously clasping them around my wrists. The They clink slightly as his intricate paws lock them in place. I'm gonna make whoever killed Raynor pay for what they've done. You mean we, right? He looks me into my eyes, a sad smile gracing his lips. Of course. He takes my hands in his paws and rubs his thumbs over my palms. For some reason, I can tell that he wants to cry. It's just the feeling that I get from his paws. Lyle? He squeezes my hand slightly and looks up. Yes? If things go well, there's something I'd like to talk to you about. Of course. Even if everything goes horribly and I get sentenced to life in the dungeons or worse, I want you to visit me here so I can talk with you. Promise me you will. Without hesitation, he closes my hands together in between his paws and clasps them tightly. The chains linking my arms together rattle as he does this. I promise. Once again, the bells outside begin to ring. Lyle leads me to the doorway and turns around. You go on ahead while I lock the cell door. Okay. I hesitantly take a couple of steps forward before walking down the long tunnel. As I walk, the feeling of comfort I had while with Lyle starts to fade away. Then I remember why I'm here and what's going to happen. Amazingly, being around Lyle made the emotional part of my brain forget about all of it. Now it all comes crashing down upon me like a roof collapsing. My heart feels like it fell from my chest and hit the floor. I try to pick myself up mentally and continue to walk forward. That's all I can really do at this point. I just have to try and get through this. I try to take my mind off of it by looking around. I've never actually gotten to see most of the hall leading to my cell. I pass the first two cells and take a peek inside of them. They both look similar to each other, but they're definitely different compared to the one I was put in. They each have a window with bars on it, and both cells are very small, at least half the size of my own. There's also no bed or anything else for that matter. Each cell is completely empty aside from the shackles hanging from the brick wall. I hear Lyle's footsteps approaching from behind me. I really did put you up in the good cell, you know. I wish you didn't have to put me in a cell at all. Me too. We continue walking, his helmet underneath his arm as his other arm is draped over my back, his paw rubbing my shoulder. The chains hanging from my wrists clink together lightly with each step as we make our way up the stairs. How many dungeons are there? Most people only know about the first two levels. You were placed on the first level. It's a series of cells that were built as part of the castle's foundation. Second, y'all. Water time. That's why each of them is a window? Yes. Well, some of them do. We're now in the main part of the castle, and it's honestly a breath of fresh air. We passed a few people going about their business. They don't pay us any mind, aside from the few that stare at us as we pass. When the castle was being built, they were actually being used as rooms for the workers, although they weren't locked in them like you were. They were basically used like barracks, but the plans for them to be the dungeons had been decided in the initial schematics. We came across a fork in the hallway, but instead of going down the corridor that leads me to the throne room, we turn left. The voices of people ahead start to fade away as we pace down the other hall. Isn't the throne room that way? We won't be going through the main entrance. Oh, that's actually a relief. I'd prefer not to be sneered at while walking up the aisle. Anyways, what about the second level? The second level is meant for a more permanent stay. It's underneath the castle's foundation, embedded deep within the cliffside. The heat from the hot springs can be really felt down there, and you never see the light of day. You don't want to be put down there, and honestly, I'd do anything in my power to stop that from happening. It's horrible down there. Hearing all this causes goosebumps to form in my arms. Thankfully, they don't get used often. Are there more levels? He doesn't answer right away, not until we turn down a very narrow hall. There's two castle guards sitting by a door at the end of the hall. They're both cats, out of earshot and talking with each other. There's one more level, and it hasn't been used in ages. And it definitely won't be used for you. We get closer to the end of the hall, and he stops to take his arm off my shoulders, turning to me. Okay, the trial will be starting soon, so I just want to go over everything with you. I'm sure you've been thinking about it as long as you've been in those cells, so you're more than prepared. Somewhat. But I think we should still go over some of it. Okay. There'll be a jury consisting of high nobility. You may recognize some of them. From that dreaded party. Hey! You gotta dance with Captain Lyall Reed of the Royal Guard. Was it really all that bad? I shoot a look at him in a deadpan manner. I'm only kidding. I know. Trust me, I wish I could block out all the bad stuff from that night. Me too. Anyways, there's going to be 7 people on this jury, including Elizabeth. After everything is said and done, they will give their verdicts. Once all the votes have been read, the king will give his verdict, and his word is final. Very rarely does it differ from what the jury believes, though. Even if they all voted me innocent, I doubt Adrius would agree. You never know. We'll just have to see. Honestly, I don't know what he'll decide. What else do you know for sure? He thinks for a moment, fiddling with the plume on his helmet. Each person even remotely involved in what happened will testify. They will either testify against you or for you, or they may even do both, depending on the information they give. It's very different from how it's done in Aaron. I'll be going first since I made the arrest. Also, another thing in our favor is the fact that Bjorn is currently unable to testify. He reaches around and grips the handle of his sword confidently. And Adrius isn't too keen on delaying the trial. Who will testify in his place? Instead, Finn will testify in place of him, detailing the events and how he saw them. Finn is a good man, and he'll most definitely tell the truth. He'll also have your account of what happened along with mine. As long as there's no contradictions, the jury will accept it. That could be either good or bad for me, depending on what Finn saw. Yes. Like usual, everything seems a bit unfortunate. Yes, that seems to be an ongoing theme. Is there anything else you might be able to tell me? That's all I really know. I'm also not sure what the punishment will be. I can think of a few things. He lets out a sigh, his breath tremulously exiting his lungs. No. Lyle, you know more than I do what happens to people guilty of such crimes. No, I won't let it happen. I reach up and take his face in my hands. Yes, you will! No, I'll never! Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, leave a super thanks or a tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!